My sister and I grew up middle class. We had luxuries like a nanny and weekly housekeepers, but our parents ensured we knew how to take care of ourselves. When my sister was 20, she met Tom. Tom is from a very wealthy family and inherited 2 companies. My sister always wanted to open up a business, and Tom supported her in opening her business. When she married him, she stopped having to cook, clean, or do anything for herself, and later her kids. They have a team of chefs, maids, nannies, butlers, etc. My husband and I are middle class. We just bought a little townhouse. Our kids go to Catholic school, and we travel once or twice a year. We live a comfortable life, but nothing too extravagant. My oldest niece, Tween, has a genetic disorder and needs major surgery. My sister, my niece, and a nanny flew into a city around 45 minutes from me and are staying here for 4 months. My sister rented a house across the street from the hospital, and she and the nanny are alternating days at the hospital. The thing is, she now has to cook and clean and shop for herself for the first time in years. I spent a day teaching her how to use all of the appliances in the rental and finding easy recipes for her to make for herself and my niece. My niece doesn't eat the hospital food. I drive to the rental once a week to check on my sister, and she said she doesn't understand how people manage to cook and clean every day, and that she either wants Tom to send some of their staff to help her, or hire a temporary chef housekeeper to take care of everything while they're here. A cousin asked how my sister was doing, and I told her that she was struggling to take care of herself and my niece with only a nanny, and admitted that it was entertaining watching her try to live like a normal person. My cousin said I'm being cruel, and that this life is all she's known for 18 years, so it's understandable that she's struggling. She told my parents, who were also mad at me for thinking it's entertaining to watch my sister try to live like a normal person. You are the idiot. You have no reason to feel this way. It comes across as jealousy that she has more money than you. Her daughter is so ill that she needs to spend 4 months in a hospital. She's a struggling mom dealing with a sick child. It might be wise to keep these thoughts to yourself in the future. Do you think it's amusing to watch her take care of her disabled child? She's away from home and her routine and having to take care of a child who's so ill she needs major surgery and 4 months in the hospital. What is wrong with you? Your jealousy is showing and you don't care about your niece. We can hate the extremely wealthy all we want, but if I'm being real, if I had that much money, I wouldn't struggle like she is. I don't think I would be doing much housework either. My thought exactly. OP sounds jealous and petty as heck. She sounds almost happy that her sister's struggling because she lives a life with higher privilege than hers. OP, I find it amusing that you classify growing up with nannies and housekeepers as only middle class back in the 80s and 90s. Sure, you can say whatever you want in this world, but there will sometimes be repercussions. Yep, rich people never know though they're rich because somebody always owns a bigger yacht. I couldn't help but think OP is also rich since she's able to apparently take 1 or 2 vacations a year and owns a townhouse. Just because her pot of gold isn't as large doesn't mean it's still not a pot of gold. In April of last year, my 19-year-old female grandma let everyone in her will inherit most things early. She's still alive, which was almost everything except for things like her house, etc. I inherited my grandma's wedding dress from the 50s or 60s, since I loved it so much when I first saw it. I'm not getting married anytime soon, but I planned to in the future, and I want to wear my grandma's dress to my wedding. My cousin Jake, 26-year-old male, is getting married to his fiancée, Lily, 25-year-old female, late next year. Jake reached out to me last week, which was weird because we're not close. He said he had seen the dress before I inherited it from my grandma, and he wanted his fiancée to wear it to their wedding. I told him the answer would probably be no, and he was pretty upset about it. I decided to hear him out. He said that his fiancée would tell me her plans for alterations. Lily called me the next day, and to sum it up, she pretty much wanted to cut up the dress, dye it, and completely change the bodice. I told Lily that her plans were not okay with me, and she pretty much said, I'm just gonna give it to my future daughter or daughter-in-law, so I wouldn't want you wearing it. I was shocked by this woman's entitlement, and I told her that since it was my grandma's dress, I wouldn't want her wearing it as it would take away from the sentimentality for me. I also told her that even if I did let her wear the dress, there was no chance I would let her keep it. Lily said it would be great, since the dress would be free and her mom could do the alterations. I hung up when she started crying because I couldn't take any more of this girl's behavior. Jake blew up my phone and told me that I was such a witch for making Lily cry. I shouldn't make them think that there was a chance they could have the dress. I told Jake that at first there might have been a chance, but by the time Lily called, I had made my decision. Jake blew up saying that I shouldn't rob his fiancée of the opportunity for the perfect dress, etc. I told him that the reason for my decision was that I was planning to wear it for my future wedding. I wore a dress for my wedding that was important to me. I didn't want to wear a dress that had been previously worn by someone else. My cousin, Jake, suggested that his fiancée, Lily, wear the dress, but I was angry and told him that Lily wasn't part of the family and the dress held no sentimental value to her. I didn't want anyone to take that away from me. I even consulted my grandmother, who advised me not to give the dress to them. She also didn't want Lily to wear it because she barely knew her. Since then, Jake and Lily have been constantly messaging me and begging for the dress. I have chosen to ignore them because their behavior is just fueled by anger and entitlement. Am I in the wrong here? No, I don't believe so. It's strange that Jake had seen the dress before and wanted his bride to wear it. He also mentioned that Lily wanted to completely alter the dress, which doesn't make sense if it's the perfect dress. It seems like they just want a free dress. This dress holds sentimental value to me, and it's not just about finding the perfect dress. It's about wearing something that has meaning to me. If Lily's mother is able to make all the alterations, then she can make the perfect dress for her daughter without taking away my dress. I live with my family, and I have made it clear that the dress is off limits to anyone except me. I have also considered hiding the dress to avoid any further conflict. I hope my grandmother is disgusted by Jake's behavior and chooses to disinherit him. I have blocked all of them and have hidden the dress with a trusted friend or relative. I don't want to keep it in my home because I fear that Lily may try to take it. I have also informed all family members about Jake's intentions to take my grandmother's inheritance and divide it among himself and Lily. Their level of entitlement is unbelievable. On a different note, when my son was 8 years old, we got a dog who is half Great Dane and half unknown breed. My son loves this dog and takes care of him except for vet visits. He is a responsible dog owner and the dog is his best friend. However, since my wife's pregnancy, she has been acting strange around the dog. She avoids him, covers her stomach when he's around, and gets startled by his noises. She recently told me that she wants to rehome the dog because she's anxious that he may jump on her. This is completely unreasonable, as we have trained the dog not to jump or run into people since he was very young. My brother's new girlfriend is very young because she's half Great Dane. I felt it was important for all dogs, especially one who could potentially grow to such a large size, which he did. So there's no reason for her to think the dog will jump on her. However, she expressed concern that the dog might jump on her and potentially harm the baby. This dog has never even growled at her. She also mentioned that her anxiety about the dog is affecting her health, and she believes the dog should be kept away from her and the baby for safety reasons. I told her that was not an option. My son got this dog after losing his mother, and they have a strong bond. Sometimes I feel like he loves the dog more than me. I will not take away his dog. The dog has done nothing wrong. My wife accused me of prioritizing the dog over her pregnancy, but this dog poses no threat to her or the baby. If this were any other unreasonable request, I would consider it because she is pregnant. However, I cannot break my son's heart over an irrational fear. Am I being unreasonable? No, I'm not. Owning an animal is a lifetime responsibility, and getting rid of the dog because of my wife's pregnancy would be unfair. I suggest microchipping the dog if it hasn't been done already, and making sure the information is up to date. I also recommend seeking counseling and finding a compromise. My son needs his dog, I urge you to take this advice seriously. My wife's anxiety may be due to hormones, or she may need to speak to her doctor, but regardless, her behavior is irrational. It would be very easy for her to get rid of the dog while we are not home, and then use the excuse of the baby's safety. I will not allow my son's dog to be taken away. He did not ask for me to remarry and have a new child. If my wife continues to push this topic, my son will never forgive me or her. She needs to actively work on coping with her anxiety, instead of trying to get rid of a family member who has been with us longer than she has. I am 32 years old, and my brother is 20. He was an unplanned baby, so I had already moved out by the time he was old enough for us to have a significant relationship. As adults, we are not very close, but I still try to maintain some kind of relationship with him. Recently, my brother asked if I would like to meet his new girlfriend, who is 19 years old. I happily agreed and invited them over for dinner with my husband and our children, a preteen boy and a young girl. However, my brother failed to mention that his girlfriend is very young because she's half Great Dane. My brother failed to mention that his girlfriend has 2 children, both girls, a toddler and a preschooler. I was taken aback when a party of 4 arrived at our house last night for dinner, instead of the expected 2. Keep in mind, I had never met my brother's girlfriend before, and it had only been 3 weeks since they started dating. So I was surprised when she introduced my husband and me as their new aunt and uncle to her kids. While some people may refer to their elders as aunt and uncle, I didn't appreciate it when she introduced my children as their new cousins. It all felt too familiar for someone I had never met, and children I didn't even know existed. It also felt like she was trying to force her family onto mine in a strange way. In that moment, I corrected my children and told them that her kids were not their cousins, but rather new friends. She seemed a bit put off by this, but the rest of the dinner went smoothly. However, my brother called me today and was furious that I made his girlfriend feel unwelcome and excluded from the family. I explained to him that she is not a part of our family, and it was strange for her to introduce me as their aunt. He argued that she had a tough home life and was just looking for a sense of belonging, and I was standing in the way of her building a new family with him. I told him she seemed nice enough, but I was uncomfortable with the situation. He then threatened that I shouldn't expect an invitation to their hypothetical future wedding. My husband agrees that my reaction was justified, but my mom thinks I should have let it go since it wasn't a big deal. And there's a high chance I may never see her again, considering my brother's track record of dating multiple women in a short period of time. I'm not sure if I was right to correct her in front of my kids, or if I should have just let it go for the sake of my brother. Was I in the wrong? Absolutely not. They have only been together for 3 weeks, and that does not make her a part of our family. She should have been aware of standard boundaries. My partner was only referred to as an uncle to my siblings' kids after a year of being together, not 3 weeks. It's absurd, and my brother should have addressed it instead of getting angry at me. I don't believe that marriage is a requirement to be considered a part of the family, but in this case they haven't been together long, and this was my first time meeting her. Plus, my brother had even mentioned that she had kids. While I understand she may have had a tough home life, it doesn't mean I am obligated to become her best friend and involve my kids in her family dynamics. There's no rush, and my brother shouldn't make me feel guilty for how I reacted. And if he continues to date single moms, our family tree will become quite complicated. Real fast. Oh, Opie? Yeah, he was my uncle one Christmas. Just like Opie's brother was my dad for that Christmas. This woman was intrusive, out of line, and also rude for bringing her kids to dinner without asking the host in advance. You're right, it was quite strange. I, a 28-year-old female, do most of the cooking in my household. Maybe it's just because of how I was raised, but I always make something that everyone will eat. My mom didn't do that growing up, and I was forced to eat foods that made me ill. So I won't go out of my way to make meals that someone will not touch, due to not liking them. It's not that hard to do this in my house, because generally speaking, my kids and husband are not picky and don't have any safe foods or anything. Sometimes, on an off chance, one of the kids won't eat the broccoli or potatoes. But as I said, it's rare to run into an issue because they aren't picky most of the time. I, on the other hand, don't like a handful of foods and I will not touch them. Like spaghetti, which is a huge one for me. I hate spaghetti, beef stew, pot roast of any kind, mashed potatoes, whipped are okay sometimes, meatloaf, Salisbury steak, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, etc., etc. I can safely say that most of which I hate isn't even a taste issue. It's that I've eaten these foods so many times, either because everyone in my house, especially my husband, wants them 24/7, or someone from my childhood growing up did. I just can't stand any of those foods anymore and will not eat them. I usually cook for my family and will make something small on the side if I make any of those meals. My husband knows what I like and what I don't like. Whenever he cooks, though, he always makes something I will absolutely not eat, like potatoes. He literally wants potatoes with every meal, to the point where my kids are starting to hate them. And meatloaf, or spaghetti, those are his two go-to meals whenever he cooks, and I won't eat them. I never have. He cooked yesterday when I was sick and made spaghetti. And when I woke up, he told me I needed to eat something. So I went out and grabbed something else, cheese and pepperoni, and he got angry that I didn't want to eat dinner. He said he hates cooking because I never eat what he cooks. I told him that if it bothered him, he might stop cooking meals he knows I won't touch. He said I make it so that he doesn't want to cook at all. Am I the idiot? Most of the foods I listed make me sick. We've been together since I was 15, so he knows this. He's also a chef day to day, but whenever he cooks at home, he sticks to meatloaf and potatoes or spaghetti. He never makes anything else except beef stew maybe once a year. Not the idiot. So your chef husband says you're at fault, that he doesn't want to cook at home. Have you ever thought about the fact that... I thought about the fact that he does this on purpose so he doesn't have to cook. Exactly. Plus, it's not like the problem is simple food. Making a bolognese or stew takes more effort than simply roasting a chicken in the oven. And it's not like she's preventing him from eating what he wants. She cooks the majority of the time, and the few times she doesn't, he deliberately chooses to make things she doesn't like. It's cruel that he does this when she's sick. My husband is a chef. He knows what foods trigger your allergies and still continues to make them. Then he gets angry when you refuse to eat them. Opie was emotionally abused with food. Her husband knows this and is now doing the same. Honestly, therapy is the only solution here. You shouldn't be reacting like this to food. Your visceral dislike of these things will likely be shared by your children because you are their parent. Your list of unwanted foods is too long. Consider seeing a doctor to find out why you may be feeling sick after eating staple foods. Also, have you considered that he may want to eat the foods that you can't? If my job was to be a chef, I wouldn't want to spend more time than necessary cooking for myself at home.